Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Thursday. It is April 19th. This will be our chart lesson for today, and this is going to wrap up our week. No chart lessons on Friday, so this is going to do it for the week, um, but we'll be back again to do it on Monday. But let's get into the chart lesson today. I'm doing this a little bit early. I'm going to move through it a little quicker than probably usual. I have another obligation I have this afternoon, so I'm trying to do this before because I don't want to come back late in the evening and do it, and I'm not sure what time I'll get a chance for that. So, but there were two legs down. We came down, we bounced, we made a little low here, and we started correcting. So you don't really know if this is a correction before we get another leg down, or if this is going to be a range day. Once we start going lower and you get a little trend lower, then stay, go with it, work with it, and you can see we got a nice trend down here. We got a break and then a move to a new low. And then we just kind of been going sideways since that point. More of an upward bias to it. But yeah, at this point, this is about when I posted the mid-morning chart. And at this point, you don't have enough price action. As if you see, if you move over here, when you're working up here, you don't know if this is just a correction before you get that next leg down, or if this is going to hold and maybe we're going to go test the high again and be a range day, or it might just trend up all day. But generally, you would expect this to probably find some resistance at some point and attempt to make a new low. And then you kind of got to watch it from there to see if you make that next leg down, which we did. And then I'd be looking for a measured leg once we started going lower. And you can see we got really close to that. Maybe on as far as closes go, that's as far as we got. We went a little bit lower than that. We never closed any lower than that. So that would have been that would have been a great target to try to reach, to stay with any trades that you took, any runners you caught, so forth. So not many longs today at all. Once you start making this next leg down, you don't want to be trying to pick bottoms. You want to get a reversal pattern before you start thinking long. And we got one reversal pattern in here, but you already had a double top here, so I was a little bit worried about that. But you still might want to take that, and we'll talk about it when we get to it. But because it's been so much down and so bearish today, I think you're better off just sticking with shorts. And there were plenty of them. And there's a reversal pattern here too. I forgot about that one. But let me back out. We'll talk about the trades. And like I said, we're going to move through this pretty quickly today, and I'm going to wrap it up so I can try to get this done in the next 20 minutes and get out of here. So when I came in, prices were just working kind of down to sideways here. You got strong support, but you're kind of making lower lows here. So, and when this comes back to the trend line right here and turns down, it's a really bearish bar. Normally I would say take this trade every time, but with all this support down here, you got to be very careful. So the only way I would probably enter this one is wait for it to break lower, see if it does, and then drop a limit order. And you could have gotten filled. I'm not sure if you could have gotten filled one tick below that one. I think you could have, but you could have closely gotten filled because this thing traded up and down a few times before it closed down. So that'd be the only way I would enter that one. It turns out to be a great trade, but you don't know that it's not going to bounce there, and it's really probably not worth risking it. Wait and see if you get a better entry. And so then we're working down, and you get a close outside, and you get a couple legs back to this is really, even though you made a little lower low there, that's still two legs back to the EMA. However, we're not back to the trend line. So taking that first entry, I'm not crazy about. So when you get this, when it went higher here and turns and goes down, and I like going short there. You could have gone short below this bar or waited for this one to close if you still had enough room, or you might let it break below that one and drop a limit order back in and see if you could get filled. I'd probably just go short when it broke below that bar right there. And so now you've got a lower high, and you can see that big stem, and it's everything ended up closing inside that trend line. That's telling you something. So we move down to the other side, bounce, and you get another big bearish bar, and it's right off your trend line. Take that one. Um, it's not a second entry, but that's a key entry point. And you've got a fairly strong downtrend here, um, and you could also notice that's your new high. You're pulling back first entry, pulling back second entry. So that's two tries to go higher that fails at a key entry point, the EMA, the trend line. Just go short there. You got plenty of room to get out, and this one goes even further. And then now it comes back and you get a break. You get a first entry, and then there's a second entry run. It breaks below here, but that bar's too bullish, and this is kind of an inside bar, so it's a little risky. I don't think you want to trade there, and you definitely don't want to be going long yet, especially not without a new low. So you get a correction, and then you get that first entry and then the second entry. So it's similar, there's your second entry short. It does bounce here and give you a bullish bar. So I like entering that just to see if you get another leg up. And you may have caught a bottom here and it may be a range day. So there's plenty of room to get out. That turns out to be a pretty nice. And again, that's just 2 legs back to the EMA. So even though you made a little higher high there, that's still 2 legs back to the EMA. If it looks close, if it looks like a 2-legged pattern, sometimes close is good enough. So, and then of course you got a little double top there now, and then we move up, and you break higher, you fail, then you go up and you make that lower high, and it goes higher above that nice bullish bar, turns, it goes right out the other side. Just go short right there, and hopefully you catch the end of the correction and you ride this down for another leg like I showed you, all the way down to the 2682 area or so, and you can see that's almost 10 points, or actually that's more than 10 points because we're almost at 2702 up here, so it's almost double that. So that's a nice move. But notice you made a failed second entry long here, and it's right off that shorter term trend line key entry point. And you got to figure now prices are trying to make a new low at a minimum, and you're not back down to this line either that looks like it's going to be your other side. So I like going short there. Turns out to be a pretty good move, and we just keep on moving down. I don't think you want to, now that you got this overshoot, I think you really need to stay out of these. This one is real. If you had a little more room between here and here, this one would be one that you'd want to consider. But the fact that there's not much room there, I think you got to skip it. It would have worked, but you don't know that ahead of time, so you just got to kind of skip it. And then, of course, you're moving up, first entry short, second entry short, but you got a correction going on here, and you want to make sure this one's played out. You could argue to take that one. You could probably say if you want to be aggressive, it's a second entry short at a possible key entry point. I drew this line off the lows and drug it up, so it's in the right vicinity. But I still think you want to make sure this is played out. You could probably argue for that one to be green because there's some cases you'd want to take that regardless. But let's just make it green because if you want to be aggressive, and it would have been a good place to enter, but in my opinion, you want to wait on a lower high here, which comes right here. And that's not the most perfect bar, but that being at a key entry point and still being mostly bearish, I still think you might let it break lower and drop a limit order in a couple of ticks back just to be safe because it's a fairly big bar, but I think you just want to go short there. And of course you get your failed second entry long right here, but you haven't made a new low yet, and so now you got a triple bottom there. But when it tries to go higher again and turns back down, notice it goes lower, comes back. So now you got a little breakout pullback short. So you might consider that one. This line here is from resistance later in the day, so that wouldn't be there at that point. This would just be open down through here. And you get a couple of more shots to go short here. But again, I don't think you want to risk any of those. You're getting further away from the EMA. You've already had you had what looks like a close outside this shorter term one here, but I think now at this point you really want to wait for this to come back to the key entry point. So I don't really like any of these. You're having to go short right into the lows each time. So this one would be considered a failed second entry long. So, but then notice how it takes a couple of bars, and one of them, they got stems on both sides. So again, I think you're better off just to skip those. And then we just end up going sideways here. You finally get a little failed breakout, but it's right back into the lows, not enough room. And then finally you get one with a smaller bar, a little bit away from the EMA. So I like going short there just to ride that back to the EMA and maybe go on down and make another low and reach your measured move here. And that's exactly what kind of happens. Again, there's a failed second entry long right here if you count off that eye, but you got a bunch of bars going sideways, stems, doji in there, right at the lows. So just skip that. And you don't got to be careful trying to pick bottoms down here. So wait on that reversal pattern, which comes right here. Notice that new low, first entry, move higher, second entry, bounces right off the EMA. You want to take that because you may catch the bottom here and it may reverse. In this case, it's good for a scalp, nothing more, and it turns back down. And you really could treat that like a failed second entry long, right off that strong resistance. So I don't have a problem going short there, just flip-flopping. That's hard to do, so if you were already in here, you probably are not going to go short there. But if you're not in here, definitely go short right there. And that's good for a couple of 3-4 points there. And then it bounces. You do get a reversal pattern here, but it's a huge bar. It breaks lower and turns, it goes out. So you might consider that one, but it's right back into this resistance. So that's why I don't like it. There's not much room there. And it would have turned out it worked, but look how it's going sideways. That probably would have shaken you out, and you probably would have taken a 2 or 3 tick loss. So you're better off to skip that trade. Notice it would have worked in the end, but who wants to sit there and ride that out and sweat that out, hoping that it's not going to stop you out? And that's why your stop goes down here, because notice it never even came close. Even on this pull back here, it never came close to getting your where your stop would be. And that got you into the 2 o'clock hour. So I feel like I rushed through this today, and I probably did. I'm going to back out and leave you one more look at the big picture. But it was a relatively standard day. Once we knew we were headed lower here again, you're just looking for a measured move down. And then once this second leg plays out, and there's probably a bigger pattern in here too that I haven't marked. I didn't even. So you can see that would have helped you with this trade, and it would have helped you with this trade as well. You really don't need that, but when you get further confirmation like that, by all means, you want to use it. Not much down here at the lows, unless you want to look at that as an overshoot. It's probably down here, and there's probably a midline in there, but I didn't want to clutter you didn't really need that, but again, it probably would have helped you. Of course, it may not have helped you as much with this one, but it definitely might have with this one, because at this point, you don't know where this line is. I probably would have started with it like this, off those closes right there, and that would have thrown you off here. But once you get it right there, and it still fits, you work it out and you leave it there, and you notice it would have probably helped you here or here. That might have given you a little more incentive to take that trade. So just something else to throw out there to show you. Always draw your lines. You don't always need them, but if you get more than one confirmation, that's just, that's helpful. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. We're done for the week. I hope you had a good trading week. Good luck with your trading tomorrow, and we'll be back again to do it Monday. But I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.